Hey, listener name, are you ready to dig into some really interesting insights about the business world?
Always.
Today, we're going to be looking at Route Mobile.
Okay.
They're a really big player in the CPaaS space, communications platform as a service.
Yes, yeah.
All those messages and notifications you get on your phone from businesses.
Right, yeah.
They're kind of the backbones for all of that.
I see.
And we've got their Q3Fy25 earnings call transcript.
Oh, wow.
Fresh off the press from January 28th, 2025.
Okay.
So it's super recent.
Yeah.
And it's packed with info about their business outlook, headwinds they're facing, and their visions for the future.
Awesome. This is going to be good.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's dive in.
Okay.
So this transcript gives us a really unique look behind the scenes at how Route Mobile is strategizing their way through this, ever-changing market.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so first things first.
Okay.
Huge news.
Okay.
Route Mobile is now part of this bigger entity.
Okay.
Called Proximus Global.
Proximus Global.
Yeah, alongside Bex and Telesign.
Interesting.
So what does this new structure actually mean for them?
Right.
And their future, from a business point of view?
Well, it's a pretty big deal, instead of just being Route Mobile, they've got the backing of this global powerhouse now.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Bex brings this huge global network to the table.
Okay.
Telesign is the leader in digital identity.
Yeah.
And Route Mobile brings that expertise in actually engaging with customers.
So they each bring something different.
Exactly. Combined, they can offer a much wider and more complete set of communication services.
So they're aiming to be like a one-stop shop.
Pretty much, yeah.
For all things communication.
That's the idea.
But the transcript also mentions some, serious headwinds.
Oh, yeah.
That the industry is facing.
Yeah.
So what does the CPaaS landscape actually look like these days?
Yeah, it's definitely not all sunshine and roses.
Okay.
The CPaaS industry as a whole is going through this kind of structural shift.
Okay.
Some of their competitors are seeing flat or single-digit growth.
Not great.
Not great at all.
Yeah.
And Route Mobile points to a few reasons for this.
Okay, like what?
Well, there was some artificially inflated traffic in the past that's now leveled out. The global economy, not doing fantastic.
Right.
And there's this growing sense of caution among big companies about security and reliability in their communications.
So they're being more careful.
Exactly.
About who they work with.
Yeah, they're looking for partners they can really trust.
So it's not just a Route Mobile problem.
Right.
It's like an industry-wide trend.
Exactly.
But even with all of that going on, they still managed to pull off over 15% growth in revenue and gross profit.
That's impressive.
Year on year.
Yeah.
Which is pretty impressive.
It really is.
What are they doing that others aren't?
Well, they emphasize 3 key advantages they have.
Okay, what are they?
First, their size and reputation makes them a trusted partner, which is really valuable in this climate.
Yeah, for sure.
They have a massive network, over 450 mobile network connections.
Wow.
And they've been really proactive in fighting things like gray routes and spam.
So they're taking it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the first advantage.
Second, being part of Proximus Global gives them this incredible reach.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They can offer top-notch service quality practically anywhere, which makes them super appealing to big global companies.
Global reach is definitely a must-have these days.
For sure.
What's that third advantage that sets them apart?
It's their diversified portfolio, which opens up a lot of options for cross-selling and upselling. They're not just an SMS company anymore.
Right.
They're moving beyond basic messaging and using things like AI, machine learning, and first-party data to offer more targeted and effective communication solutions.
Can you give me an example of how that works in the real world?
Sure.
Okay.
Imagine you're in a city using a metro ticketing app powered by Route Mobile.
Okay.
They can use AI to analyze your travel patterns and send you a personalized reminder through WhatsApp just before your ticket expires.
Oh, that's smart.
Nudging you to renew it right when you need to. It's about anticipating needs and delivering the right message at the right time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're growing, they're diversifying.
Yep.
But how does that actually translate to their financials?
Okay, good question.
What are the key takeaways there?
Well, their growth margins are holding steady.
Okay.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah.
Operating margins took a small hit.
Okay.
Because of a long-term incentive plan they've implemented for employees.
Okay. So investing in their people.
Right.
But overall, their cash flow is very strong.
Very strong.
They're generating cash efficiently, even with all the industry challenges.
It's good to hear.
They even declared an interim dividend of RVS3 per share.
Wow.
Which shows confidence in their financial position.
Definitely.
That's a positive sign for sure.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore those headwinds entirely.
Right.
What are some of the specific challenges they highlighted?
Well, the shift from traditional SMS to WhatsApp messaging is a big one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
While it's good for growth, it can squeeze margins because WhatsApp's pricing model is different. They also mentioned that the artificially inflated traffic from before is making it harder to accurately gauge the true growth of new products.
Okay.
And WhatsApp's pricing strategy is adding to that complexity.
So it's making things harder to track.
Exactly. It makes comparing year-on-year performance a bit tricky.
Yeah, I could see how that would make things more complicated.
Definitely.
It sounds like they're navigating a pretty complex landscape right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But they're not just sitting back and letting the tides turn.
Definitely not.
They mentioned RCS.
RCF.
Rich communication services.
Oh.
That's a potential area of growth.
Interesting.
They've already launched an RCS solution in Bangladesh.
Wow.
And see it as an alternative to traditional SMS.
So they're keeping their options open.
Yeah, and they're helping their customers transition to WhatsApp for different use cases.
So they're adapting to different messaging platforms?
Exactly.
Smart.
What about their relationship with Telesign?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one.
How does that fit into the bigger picture?
Well, Telesign was already a significant client of Route Mobile, contributing a good chunk of their revenue even before they became part of the same group under Proximus Global.
Okay.
Now there's this massive opportunity for cross-selling.
Oh, I see.
Offering each other services to their respective client bases.
Right, so they can leverage each other's networks.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
For example, they could bundle Route Mobile's messaging expertise with Telesign's strong digital identity solutions.
So the merger opens up a lot of doors for them.
It really does.
They even hinted at the possibility of Telesign being integrated.
Wow.
Or even listed through Route Mobile.
That would be huge.
It would.
Yeah.
Though they emphasize that all options are on the table right now.
Right. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
But overall, they seem confident about their ability to leverage the strengths of Proximus Global to drive growth and keep those operating margins stable.
Sounds promising.
They're actively pursuing large deals and looking for new ways to collaborate within the group.
It'll be interesting to see what they do next.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've got a solid strategy for navigating this evolving CPaaS landscape.
It's a dynamic industry for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that they're facing some risks too, right?
Oh, right.
There was something about a contingent liability related to a contract in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, this relates to an exclusive firewall contract they have in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
They're running into some roadblocks.
Oh, no.
Because of increased sanctions in the region.
I see.
Which have caused some social media apps to be banned.
Okay.
And created some unexpected changes in the market.
So external factors that are out of their control.
Pretty much, yeah.
How are they handling this?
Well, they're in the process of renegotiating the contract.
Okay.
And using their contractual rights to address these unforeseen changes.
So they're trying to work it out.
Exactly. They're hoping for an amicable solution.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But both the auditors and the company felt it was important to highlight this as a potential risk because the contract is quite valuable.
That's responsible of them.
It is.
So they're not shying away from acknowledging potential challenges.
Nope, they're being upfront about it.
But on the whole, this transcript seems to paint a pretty positive picture.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Of Route Mobile's future.
They're facing headwinds for sure.
Yeah.
But they're also capitalizing on new opportunities,
right.
Leveraging their strengths within the group, and showing a commitment to innovation.
It's a dynamic company in a dynamic industry.
Absolutely.
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground already, listener name.
We have.
But there's still more to unpack.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Stick with us as we continue our deep dive into Route Mobile in part 2.
Awesome. So, you know what I found really interesting in this transcript?
Yeah, what's that?
It sheds light on some of the behind-the-scenes financial decisions that can really shape a company's trajectory. For instance, they decided to retire a loan back in December.
Oh, wow.
It seems like a small detail.
Right.
But it actually helped to lower their interest costs.
Okay.
Which can have a big impact on their bottom line.
It's amazing how those seemingly minor financial moves can make a real difference in the long run.
Absolutely.
It sounds like they're being pretty strategic about their employee costs, too.
Oh.
They mentioned that the long-term incentive plan that had a slight impact on their operating margins.
Right. And that plan is going to continue into next year.
So it's a long-term investment.
It is.
In their people.
Yeah, they're investing in their people.
But also keeping a close eye on managing costs effectively.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance for sure.
Absolutely. They also talked about how WhatsApp's pricing strategy is affecting their revenue from new products.
Right.
It seems like WhatsApp is a bit of a double-edged sword.
In what way?
Driving growth in some areas, but putting pressure on margins in others.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
What's your take on that?
Well, it's fascinating to see how companies like Route Mobile are adapting to this constantly shifting landscape of communication channels.
Right.
It's not just about offering one type of messaging anymore.
Yeah, you got to be flexible.
They need to be agile and provide a range of solutions that cater to diverse needs and preferences.
It sounds like they're doing a good job of that so far.
Yeah, I think so.
They're embracing RCS.
Yep.
Exploring new ways to use WhatsApp, and using AI and machine learning to create more personalized experiences for users.
That seems like a pretty smart approach.
I think so, too.
Definitely.
And they're not limiting themselves to just messaging either.
No, they're not.
Their digital identity solutions, which are powered by Telescience technology, have the potential to really shake things up in the world of
I know what you're going to say.
Traditional authentication and fraud prevention.
That's right. This is where things could get really exciting.
You mentioned earlier that these digital identity solutions could actually be more profitable
they could be.
Than the old OTP-based authentication methods.
Right.
That seems a little counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Can you explain why that is?
Sure. So it might seem that way at first.
Okay.
But think about it this way.
Yeah.
OTPs, you know those one-time passwords we all get are inherently vulnerable to phishing attacks?
Okay.
By removing that vulnerability with a more secure, silent authentication process, you're not only providing a better user experience, but also potentially saving companies a ton of money on fraud prevention.
So it's a win-win situation.
It is.
More security, a better user experience,
Yep.
and potentially higher margins for the company.
Exactly.
But as with any new technology, there are always challenges to overcome.
Right.
They mentioned facing some regulatory hurdles, particularly in India with their new data privacy laws.
Yeah, that's a big one.
How do you see them navigating that?
That's a really important question.
It is.
How do companies balance the need for innovation with the increasing complexity of data privacy regulations around the world?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
It's something Route Mobile and the entire industry will need to carefully consider as they move forward.
Definitely a challenge to keep an eye on.
For sure.
But shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
They also mentioned being in talks for some potentially huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Anything specific we should be paying attention to?
Well, they were a bit tight-lipped on the specifics.
Okay.
But they did say these are long-term deals and significant in size.
Okay.
Given their focus on global expansion and the potential for cross-selling within Proximus Global, it wouldn't be surprising if these deals involved international clients.
Okay.
And a mix of their communication solutions.
So we could be talking about some game-changing deals here.
Potentially, yeah, it's exciting.
That's exciting. But before we get too carried away, there's one thing I wanted to touch on.
Okay, what's that?
Their employee attrition rate. It seems a bit higher than you'd typically see in a tech company.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, they attributed it partly to the integration process with Proximus Global.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which makes sense. Mergers often lead to restructuring and streamlining.
Right.
Which can sometimes result in people leaving.
Yeah.
However, they also hinted at a broader initiative to optimize costs and eliminate redundancies across the group.
So there might be some strategic downsizing happening?
Could be.
As they integrate with Proximus Global?
It's understandable, but definitely something to monitor as we assess their future outlook.
Overall, though, it seems like Route Mobile is taking a proactive approach to managing their business.
They are.
They're aware of the challenges. They're exploring new opportunities.
Yep.
And they're leveraging their strengths.
I agree. And they're doing all of this while staying committed to profitable growth.
Which is key.
It's a compelling story, and I'm interested to see how it unfolds.
Me too. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, listener name.
Yeah, we have.
What are your thoughts so far?
I'm curious to hear what stood out to you. This has been quite a journey.
It really has.
We've talked about Route Mobile's new home, within Proximus Global. We talked about the CPaaS market kind of being all over the place right now.
Yeah, definitely some copy waters.
And how you're standing out with their trusted network, their incredible global reach.
Yeah.
And that smart move to diversify their offering.
Not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
And we also dove deep into their financials.
We did.
Highlighted those stable margins.
Yeah.
And the impressive cash flow they're generating.
They're doing well on that front.
And let's not forget their strategic shift beyond just basic SMS messaging.
Oh, yeah.
Embracing things like WhatsApp and RCS.
Right.
And those really intriguing digital identity solutions they're developing.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Yeah, but we can't gloss over those headwinds they're battling, those changing communication preferences, the competitive pricing pressures, and that whole issue of artificially inflated traffic from the past.
Right. All those factors are at play.
But they're definitely not just standing still.
I know, they're not.
They're going after those big deals.
Uh-huh.
Exploring all sorts of new avenues for growth.
They seem pretty proactive.
Yeah, and really maximizing those advantages that come from being part of the Proximus global family.
Right alongside Bees and Telesign.
Exactly.
It's a powerful combination.
It is. You know what strikes me is?
What's that?
Their commitment to innovation,
yeah,
using AI and machine learning to not just improve their existing products, but to create entirely new ways to personalize communication with customers.
I think that's really smart.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That seems like a really smart way to stay ahead of the curve.
Definitely.
In an industry that's changing so rapidly.
Things move so fast these days.
Yeah, you got to be on your toes.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up this deep dive, let's zoom out a bit.
Okay.
And bring it back to you listener name.
Right.
Why should you care about any of this?
Yeah. What's the takeaway for our listeners?
That's a great question.
It is.
Route Mobile's journey offers some really valuable lessons. Okay.
For anyone who's interested in the future of communication technology and business in general.
Right. It's a case study in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
Their story really highlights how important it is to adapt.
Yeah.
In a constantly evolving landscape.
You can't just stand still.
You can't.
You've got to be ready to change.
Exactly.
And building trust and some strong partnerships is crucial too.
It is.
Yeah.
Embracing innovation and new technologies, diversifying what you offer to stay relevant, and making smart decisions that balance growth with profitability.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
It is.
For sure.
These are all key takeaways from Route Mobile's experience.
I think these are great points.
These are powerful lessons no matter what field you're in.
Absolutely.
But here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Route Mobile is placing a big bet on the power of personalized communication.
Yeah, they are.
Using AI and data to craft messages that are tailored to individual needs and preferences.
Right, trying to make it more relevant.
Exactly. How do you think this trend will impact your life in the years to come?
That's a good question to think about.
Something to ponder until our next deep dive.
Until next time. Tay 86, huh?